At Cafe Restaurant Garden, Akira Tachibana works under her manager, Mr. Masami Kondou, who is often deemed pitiful by her colleagues due to his constant apologies to customers. During her break, Tachibana enters the office and discovers Kondou's son, Yudo, engrossed in his schoolwork. Tachibana proceeds to teach him how to play the recorder outside the restaurant. Later, Tachibana reunites with her former track club teammate, Haruka, at school and they discuss the upcoming tournament. During another break, Tachibana stumbles upon Kondou's shirt hanging on a chair, triggering memories of her initial visit to the restaurant. On that rainy day, Kondou had shown her kindness by offering a complimentary cup of coffee and performing a magic trick. Captivated by nostalgia, Tachibana takes hold of the shirt and inhales its scent until Kondou returns unexpectedly, catching her in the act. Feeling embarrassed, she hastily returns the shirt to its place and sits down to complete her break, her face blushing in front of Kondou. Yoshizawa, Tachibana's classmate, is introduced as a new part-timer by Mr. Kondou, and Yui instantly develops a crush on him. As the cafe experiences a slow day, Yui asks Tachibana to share things that make her heart flutter to pass the time. However, when Tachibana spots Mr. Kondou, she swiftly changes the subject. A customer forgets his cell phone, prompting Tachibana to inform Mr. Kondou, who tries to catch the customer's attention but fails as the customer is riding a bike. Mr. Kondou decides to wait for the customer to return, but Tachibana takes it upon herself to chase after the customer and successfully catches up to him. While walking back, Tachibana suddenly collapses in pain. Concerned, Mr. Kondou takes her to a nearby clinic to have her ankle checked. Reflecting on the events of the day, Tachibana leaves early. Later that night, Mr. Kondou calls Tachibana to inquire about her well-being. The following day, Kondou pays a visit to Tachibana's mother to apologize for the incident from the previous day. Inadvertently, Tachibana confesses something, but Mr. Kondou misunderstands it as a general affection rather than love. Tachibana reflects on the events of the previous day in her dream, questioning if she should have expressed her confession differently. On her way home from school, a member of the track team notices Tachibana and convinces her to join them at the field. As Tachibana observes from a distance, memories of her time on the team flood back, causing her to abruptly decide to leave. The track team suggests eating at the family restaurant where Tachibana works, but she curtly declines, only to backtrack and explain that it's too far. As she departs, rain begins to fall. Tachibana reminisces about the ankle injury she sustained during track and how she subsequently met Mr. Kondou. The rain intensifies into a downpour. Just as Tachibana approaches, Mr. Kondou steps outside for a smoke. He attempts to coax her inside, but she confesses once again and walks away. Standing in the doorway, Mr. Kondou is left stunned. The following day, Tachibana resumes her usual self at work, while Mr. Kondou ponders whether the previous night was a prank or a dream. After work, Kondou drives Tachibana to the train station, attempting to persuade her to reconsider her feelings. Tachibana engages in a conversation with Mr. Kondou regarding his earlier suggestion that they should go on a date to experience their incompatibility. Mr. Kondou attempts to clarify that he was merely speaking hypothetically, but Tachibana persists and insists on going on a date, to which he reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, Tachibana's coworker Case indulges in sexual fantasies about her. Unaware, she allows him to peruse one of her school textbooks, unknowingly revealing her interest in Mr. Kondou through doodles. Case agrees to keep her secret, but only if she agrees to go on a date with him. Both dates occur at the same venues, but Tachibana finds her outing with Case repugnant while her time with Mr. Kondou is perfect. Case suggests that Tachibana should abandon her pursuit of Mr. Kondou and instead date someone her own age. Mr. Kondou returns to the restaurant with the conviction that Tachibana did not have a pleasant experience on her date. Yudo proudly introduces his new hamster to the restaurant staff and mentions his intention to walk home alone. However, the staff express their concerns, prompting Tachibana to offer to accompany Yudo to Mr. Kondou's apartment once her shift ends. Upon their arrival, they discover that Mr. Kondou is not at home. Tachibana takes the initiative to cook a meal for Yudo, during which he shares stories about his father's interest in literature. When Mr. Kondou returns, Yudo suggests a surprise for him, and Tachibana hides in a closet. Eventually, Mr. Kondo agrees to take care of the hamster, and Tachibana bursts out of the closet, but the heat overwhelms her, causing her to collapse. Yuto attempts to pour her a drink, but he trips and accidentally spills it on her shirt. Mr. Kondo lends Tachibana one of his t-shirts and heads to the laundromat. As rain starts to fall, Tachibana and Yuto bring an umbrella to Mr. Kondo and express Tachibana's desire to get to know him better. The restaurant staff playfully engage with Mr. Kondo, discussing the hamster, and Mr. Kondo, feeling accepted by his staff for the first time, allows it. Angrily, Tachibana puts everyone back to work and assures Mr. Kondo that he can rely on her for help with the hamster in the future. Haruka catches sight of Tachibana spending time with Yui and reflects on how they ended up attending the same high school. While Tachibana is nearby, she overhears a conversation between two girls discussing a rumor about a rare character in a keychain series that supposedly brings you closer to someone you like. Intrigued, Tachibana tries her luck at a dispenser but fails to obtain the rare character. At that moment, Haruka interrupts, and the two of them continue their journey together for a while. Haruka reminisces about how they both developed an interest in running. Eventually, Haruka manages to obtain the secret character and presents it to Tachibana, along with a note symbolizing their friendship. Tachibana coincidentally encounters Mr. Kondo at the library and inquires about book recommendations. However, Mr. Kondo advises her to find a book she is genuinely interested in. Mr. Kondo himself comes across a book written by someone he is familiar with, visibly affecting his mood. Tachibana decides to check out the book for him, along with a couple of books for herself. During their time at the restaurant, the staff discuss the idea of creating a group chat, while Mr. Kondo uses his free moments to read the borrowed book. Tachibana considers asking Mr. Kondo if they can exchange text messages, but instead inquires about the book, mentioning that it was written by a friend. Tachibana is impressed by this revelation, but Mr. Kondo sadly dismisses her. Later, Tachibana's mother suggests she stay home from work due to an approaching typhoon, but Tachibana refuses. Unfortunately, Tachibana is disappointed to find out that Mr. Kondo is absent from work as he has caught a cold. During her break, Tachibana is joined by Case in the office, who advises her to stop pursuing Mr. Kondo, emphasizing that her advances are clearly problematic for him. After their shift, Tachibana braves the typhoon to visit Mr. Kondo's apartment, and he welcomes her inside. Tachibana questions whether her love for him is problematic, but Mr. Kondo emphatically denies it, embracing her as a friend. The following day, Tachibana is absent from work due to catching a cold herself, and she has sexual fantasies about her embrace with Kondo. At the restaurant, Mr. Kondo specifically emphasizes to Tachibana that their relationship is strictly that of friends. Yashizawa expresses disappointment over Mr. Kondo criticizing his hair, prompting Yui to offer to cut it for him, revealing her aspiration to become a hairdresser. Yashizawa eagerly agrees, but Yui confides in Tachibana that she exaggerated her skill level and simply wanted an opportunity to spend time with Yashizawa. Drawing from her own experiences with Mr. Kondo, Tachibana encourages Yui not to give up on her romantic pursuit. Tachibana informs Mr. Kondo of her desire to exchange text messages since they are friends. Haruka comes across Yamamoto, the former captain of their school's soccer team, and abruptly leaves when the conversation turns to Tachibana. When Yamamoto tries to follow her, Haruka realizes that his decision to step down as captain was due to a knee injury. She confides in him about her fear that Tachibana may not want to come back, but he assures her, based on his own experience, that it is not the case. Tachibana and Mr. Kondo discuss her homework regarding the Rashomon short story, sharing their thoughts on the servant's decision and contemplating what they would do in his situation. Tachibana invites Haruka to join her at a festival. At the festival, Tachibana and Haruka form a bond, but Tachibana's attention is captured when she spots Mr. Kondo, who is attending the event with his son. Haruka deduces Tachibana's emotions, but Tachibana declines to discuss them. Accusing Tachibana of being the cause of their strained relationship, Haruka departs the festival in tears. Mr. Kondo walks to a restaurant he frequented during his college days and encounters Chihiro, an old classmate. They engage in a conversation about Chihiro's borrowed book from the library and reminisce about their time as college students. Kondo confesses to secretly continuing his writing hobby in his spare time. Haruka continues to avoid Tachibana at school, and during their restaurant shift, Mr. Kondo inquires about Tachibana's somber mood. Tachibana explains the situation with Haruka, and Kondo reminds her about the presence of the supermoon in the night sky. He shares his own experience of meeting Chihiro, suggesting that Tachibana too can rekindle her friendship, even if they are currently drifting apart. On the night of the supermoon, Tachibana expresses her wish for reconciliation. Tachibana comes across an advertisement for a second-hand book fair and extends an invitation to Mr. Kondo, asking him to assist her in recommending books. At the fair, Kondo encounters a familiar bookstore owner, and together they share with Tachibana the anecdote of the world's shortest letter, which involved Victor Hugo's to his publisher, to which the response was. In the midst of their conversation, Kondo becomes carried away and disappears briefly. Tachibana sends him a text message, and they engage in a corresponding exchange using the same style. Meanwhile, Haruka deeply feels the growing distance between herself and Tachibana. Tachibana visits the clinic and learns that her injury has healed, yet she displays no interest in undergoing rehabilitation to return to track and field. Mr. Kondo catches sight of Chihiro during a television interview, prompting him to reflect on how his relationship with writing was once similar to that of his friends but led him down a different path. Kondo and Tachibana stumble upon a bookmark featuring the silhouette of a swallow in a book she acquired at the book fair. This reminds Kondo of a swallow's nest that used to exist outside the restaurant, prompting Tachibana to ponder the fate of a swallow that cannot leave its nest. Kondo responds by explaining that while some happiness can be found in choosing to stay behind, the swallow would forever yearn for the sky. Tachibana expresses her hope for Mr. Kondo's return to writing novels and eagerly anticipates reading whatever he produces. During track practice, Haruka discovers that Kurata from Nanhai recently achieved a personal best in the 100-meter race despite facing the same injury as Tachibana. Haruka refuses to give up on her friend. Meanwhile, Tachibana submits her November shift request, but Mr. Kondo hesitates to approve it due to her extensive work hours at the restaurant. Haruka surprises Tachibana at her workplace and implores her to return to track and field, sharing Kurata's inspiring story. Mr. Kondo learns that one of Chihiro's books is being adapted into a film and is unexpectedly visited by Chihiro at his apartment. They bond over coffee and writing exercises, and Kondo congratulates Chihiro on the film. However, Chihiro reveals his disdain for his own novel, admitting that he only wrote it because he believed it would be popular. Kondo expresses his inability to return to his previous writing style, but Chihiro suggests that Kondo simply chooses not to. That night, Kondo finds himself compelled to start writing once again. The following day, Kondo questions Tachibana once more, if there is truly nothing else she would rather do. Angrily, Tachibana insists that there is nothing else. Haruka realizes that visiting Tachibana at the restaurant was a mistake. Tachibana contemplates discarding her school's career path survey, but ultimately decides against it. There is speculation among the staff that Mr. Kondo's frequent visits to the head office may be an indication of a possible promotion. While Yui is cutting Yashizawa's hair, he inquires about her decision to become a hairdresser. Yui confesses that Yashizawa was her inspiration, and he encourages her to persevere in her chosen path. In the meantime, Mr. Kondo continues dedicating his nights to writing. Haruka reminisces about the first time she and Tachibana saw Kazuhai and the promise they made to pursue track together. During her break, Tachibana encounters Yudo in the office, who asks her to teach him how to run for his PE class as he made a promise to his father to keep running until he crosses the finish line. Mr. Kondo expresses his gratitude to Tachibana and reveals that he, too, made a promise to continue writing. He wonders if Tachibana is neglecting a promise of her own. While looking at photos with Haruka, Tachibana comes across a rehabilitation guide. Mr. Kondo announces that his recent visits were related to a new restaurant menu and that he must return to the head office. Forgetting his binder, he leaves it behind, prompting Tachibana to leave the restaurant and bring it to him. As Kondo becomes preoccupied with a phone call, Tachibana starts to head back to the restaurant but is called after by Kondo, causing her to sprint towards him. They embrace, and Kondo and Tachibana agree to inform each other when they fulfill their respective promises. Tachibana sends a text to Haruka expressing her desire to return to track, and the two reconcile. Mr. Kondo and Tachibana vow to never forget each other, and Kondo retrieves the manuscript of his latest novel, titled After the Rain.
I hope you liked the recap. If so, don't forget to subscribe and like it.